Quakers are a strange and peculiar people of hope. We should admit it. As the passages that I read to you this morning from Puncham and Cooper suggest, we are a people who live as if the kingdom of heaven is already among us. We are called to live in the hope that if we speak love and mercy and justice, if we act as if these things are true in our world, then they will indeed become our reality. I want to share with you this morning a story about Lucretia Mott, and I'll admit that I have no idea where I heard this story, and I have absolutely no idea of whether or not it is factual. I suggest that if you want to know more about it, you ask Max Carter after worship this morning. He probably can tell you if it's made up or true. But this story has been important to me and how I live my faith, so I want to share it with all of you this morning. So Lucretia Mott was working for women's suffrage and the rights of women. And there was a large conference that happened where many women gathered to talk about suffrage and the rights of women. There were a few men in attendance, but it was mostly women. And as the conference was just ending, a crowd gathered outside, an angry crowd of mostly men who were protesting that these women had gathered. And the crowd became angrier and angrier and louder and more violent. And Lucretia Mott had to walk through the crowd to get home. And she was standing at the doorway, looking out at this crowd of protesters in front of her. And one of the men who had been at the conference said to her, "You can't go out there. It's not safe for you." And Lucretia Mott looked around to the crowd, and she found the angriest, meanest-looking, most violent protester. And she said, "I'll be fine. This man will see me through the crowd." And she walked over to him, and he took her arm, and he walked her through the crowd. And she was fine. This story reminds me of the power of speaking something into truth. The power of living as if something were true until it indeed becomes a reality. I believe that when we live as if hope lived among us, if we live as if the kingdom is alive among us, as if mercy flourished among us, if we witness to the living Spirit, then that will, in fact, become our reality. And this is frankly irrational. It's actually kind of absurd. It's foolish. It's foolish to think that our world, which is filled with darkness and despair, can be changed by simply living as if it was not true. But I believe that the living presence among us is calling us to this foolish work of hope. I believe that the still small voice whispers among us that a new day is not only possible, but that if it seems to tarry, we should wait for it, for it will surely come. This scripture passage from Habakkuk, it has an important message, I think, for us today. A message about this foolish work of hope. We Quakers have a tendency to be somewhat shy about sharing our faith, or this has been my experience among liberal, unprogrammed Quakers. I think we fear that if we share our faith with others, we will be seen as evangelizing. And we don't want to seem as if we're pressuring anybody into believing something that they don't believe. And I'm not suggesting that we start sharing our faith on any street corners or, standing up anywhere on a soapbox and preaching. But I do think that this passage from Habakkuk is encouraging us to witness to hope, to witness to the power of love, to witness to the power of justice. Then God assured me and said, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets so that even a runner who is running past may read it." I believe that the Spirit is calling us to write large our vision for the future, to testify to the power of love, to share with the world our conviction that although there is an ocean of darkness, there is an even greater ocean of light and love. To paraphrase Fox. I think we do this work by letting our lives speak, as Parker Palmer encourages us to do. But we also do this through witness and testimony, through our words as well as our actions. We share with others our belief that we all carry within us the light of the divine, that peace is possible, and that love will win the day. Isn't that the most foolish thing? Thinking that love will win the day. And yet that is our conviction. It is the roots of our faith. For those of us who are Christian, we might say that we have to live into the hope of the resurrection. We have to be a people of an empty tomb, sure always that love will win over empire, that life will conquer death. And for those of us who are non-Christ-centered, we might say that love is planted among us, and we have eyes to see the fruit that it will bear. And whether we are Christ-centered or not, I think we would all agree that we can witness to that of God within each of us, and to the power and joy that that brings. Religious communities have often been the center of activism, and that has certainly historically been true of Quakers. We are all about hope, all about living into that hope in action and deed. Earlier this week, I was reading Sojourners magazine, and there was a wonderful article about Moral Monday protests in North Carolina and the role that religious communities play in creating justice and change in this world. The article concluded by saying this: for religion to once again be front and center on creating positive agitation for change, it must preach less and model more. We have a rich history of doing more than preaching, of being more than words. And this rich history, it can sustain us and it can guide us. But frankly, I'm more interested in our future than our past. Our work is not yet done. Our best days are still to come. Our future is bright. And even though the world is filled with despair, the living presence tells us that a better world is coming, that love will win the day. So friends, let us witness to this truth. Let us do it in attentive, waiting stillness and purposeful and determined action. Let us answer the sweet whispers of the divine with decisive courage, with foolish hope and action. Let us be a people of unreasonable optimism. A people of wild joy. A people with a strange and peculiar vision. And let us have courage in this work. Let us be bold and brave in following the call of that still small voice. Some of you know her work, Arundhati Roy. She's the author of a number of works on empire and politics, particularly the politics of conquered nations. She's also a novelist. And she's often quoted as saying this: "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. Friends, I believe deeply that New Garden meeting is poised on the edge of something incredible. That God is saying yes to us, and that yes will take courage and love, but it will grow among us. I have hope for the future. The next part of our history will be bright. And let us step into this moment with unreasonable optimism, with foolish hope.